Hello, everyone. This is Cara Zelaya from Daily Kos. I'm here to give you an elections update this Wednesday, November 4th at 8:09 p.m. As I wait for all of you to come in, please leave in the comments where you are right now in the United States waiting for these elections results. I'm reading all of your comments in real time, and I'd love to know what time zone people are in when they start watching, how they are feeling. So tell me what state you're in and what emotional state you're in as well. And I'm here to basically take your questions and guide you through what has been an unbelievably interesting day. Kristen is here from Massachusetts. Welcome, Kristen. I'm really excited that you're here with us. We have Ceci from Montana. We have Kathy from Oregon. Hi, how are you? I'm really excited that you're here. Long Island, New York. Nikki, I used to live in Long Island City, New York. So similar. New Jersey, we need a Biden win. Indiana, welcome. So I'm very excited to have you all here. Wow, we have 500 people tuning in. That's so exciting. Basically giving the latest updates on what's been going on in the election. If you have questions, drop them off right here in the comments and I will be taking them. But essentially, most major networks have already projected that Joe Biden has 253 electoral votes, 270 to win the White House. And so that is including Wisconsin and Michigan that were called earlier today. That is a flip from 2016 and is really a monumental win for the presidency. Colorado getting, some people are telling me about how they're getting drunk. I'm very excited for you. I have unfortunately not had a drop of alcohol this entire election night period, and I'm just trying to wait to celebrate until we have a for sure victory, and then I'll pop a bottle of champagne. But for me, it's water. Robin from Philadelphia. Robin, how's it going in Philadelphia? We're all waiting on Pennsylvania with bated breath, but if Biden wins Nevada, he's our president. That's correct. Did Nevada count votes today? So yeah, let's talk about Nevada. Nevada is one of the ones that we are going to be, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I've been called out before by Nevadians that I say Nevada. I'm so sorry. Nevada has votes coming in that were postmarked. Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of comments there. The last that I heard, Nevada is going to give an update. The state itself is going to give an update at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So I think that tonight we are not going to find out the final updates of Nevada. I could be wrong. That's last I saw 15 minutes ago. And with the current state of the news cycle, things could have changed. Arizona is also something that we're waiting on. And the projections that I'm looking at, I've been looking at CNN, I've been looking at the New York Times, I've been looking at a bunch of different places. Some places have called Arizona, some places have not called Arizona. But the places that have called Arizona have been calling it for Joe Biden. That 253 that I said earlier was without Arizona. So we're being pretty hopeful over here. I saw a report that Georgia would be reporting tonight, which could be very exciting. I have been saying for the past day that I've been expecting Georgia to go to Trump, but who's to say? We don't particularly need Georgia as long as we have Nevada and Arizona. We also don't need Pennsylvania. Is Georgia possible? So, Kim, yes, is the short answer. But the long answer is we will see. Georgia's infrastructure is complicated, short to say. There's been a lot of voter suppression efforts historically in Georgia, but there has also been a lot of get out the vote work going on. Stacey Abrams famously has pretty much dedicated the last 2 years to developing this amazing ground effort there to get out the vote. And honestly, Georgia's demographics have been changing a lot. 86% in, says Rodrigo. Yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Biden, Obama love. A lot of people are very excited. If you've been with Daily Kos since the Obama years or before, hit me up with a little heart below, because I love to see who has been like the old school, Daily Kos readers. 267 for Biden now. I'm not seeing that yet, but it could be being called in real time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Latino vote, the Latinx vote, because there's been a lot of conversations about that, specifically regarding Florida. So I said this yesterday during, I think, my 12 a.m. update. I don't know. Yesterday was kind of a fog where people were talking about how Latinos did not turn out in favor for Joe Biden, that all the math isn't in yet, but that doesn't seem to be true. People are really fixated entirely on the Florida story, and more specifically the Miami-Dade story, when we are seeing incredible Latinx organizing and turnout for Joe Biden in Arizona, in Texas. So the whole story is not just around Florida. I think that as political wonks, and I'm a former Floridian myself, we're so used to just fixating on Florida because we've got this narrative of 2000, and then in 2008 and 2012, Florida went to Barack Obama. It's kind of the quintessential swing state. But I think the story of this election is that Ohio and Florida, our standard swing states, really weren't that swingy. I thought weeks going into it that they were pretty solidly going to go to Trump, and that seems to be the case. We are now looking at what we saw in 2016, where we need to pay attention to the Rust Belt, and we need to pay attention to these new exciting swing states that we can see in Georgia, in Texas, in Arizona. And I think that that's the Latinx vote story that we are going to see moving forward. So it's an exciting time here. We have a bunch of people here who are talking to our beloved trolls. It happens, team. They're losing. That's what's going to happen. So I wanted to get a little bit of a sense of how you are feeling about the fact that this race has seemed close. I don't know if you guys are feeling that, if you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling encouraged by the results. I would really, really love to see what you are feeling right now. There was a lot, Twitter last night was unbelievably negative, and a lot of the networks also were perpetuating that fear and that negativity. This fear that we are still very much a Trump country. And I want to draw away a little bit from that narrative, because what it is that we're an incredibly partisan country. It's extremely hard to get registered Republicans, no matter how terribly Trump has messed up his presidency, to switch parties. And this is a deeply embedded American political problem. And I know that for us here at Daily Kos, we're unapologetically progressive, unapologetically Democrats. It's difficult to really gauge how that's possible. And we need to understand that this is not going to be fixed in one election. The problems that created Donald Trump existed before 2012, 2016, and are going to continue to exist. They are a systemic problem with our politics. I think this is an exciting time, though. And as discouraged as a lot of us are about Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham getting reelected, now that we're going to probably have Trump, and again, knocking on wood, no final results yet, out of the White House, we're going to be able to talk about how this isn't a Trump problem. This is a Republican problem, and call it for what it is. Because this idea that we have to just continually run to the middle has not served us. I do want to talk about the rhetoric of socialism and how that has affected the general political climate. I was tweeting about it, and immediately a lot of people in my mentions started attacking AOC and Bernie Sanders. And AOC and Bernie Sanders are not the problem. And that language of socialism has been targeted specifically to the Cuban American vote in Florida and to other Latino voters that have come from countries that have had true dictatorships and truly terrible pasts. And that language is truly frightening to them. So it is a matter of us as Democrats to change that education process. Because in the very same state of Florida, where we had pretty much a very solid Trump win, we also had them change their minimum wage laws. Now Florida voted for a $15 an hour minimum wage, which as a Floridian is shocking to me. And that is a so-called socialist policy. That is a policy that is about increasing basically a government law to ensure that people get fair wages. So these very liberal, very progressive, so-called socialist ideas are winning in the very red states that are so terrified about that. So it's a matter of creating this education process. In Miami-Dade County, the Affordable Care Act has been massively beneficial in that county specifically. And yet we see that if they voted for Donald Trump. So how do we get that education process? How do we truly teach people that progressive ideas are winning and benefit them? If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know here. It's democratic socialism, nothing to do with true socialism. Absolutely, Justin, I fully agree. Mackie is saying, I thought the same thing with the $15 wage vote. Yeah, it's very, very interesting how we are seeing that. Just moving forward, So I think the other story of the night is about the Senate and whether we will be taking the Senate. Georgia is too close to call. I think tonight we might learn a little bit more about what's going on in Georgia. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I do of what's going to happen with the Senate. But people were expecting this truly massive blue wave that just hasn't come into fruition. So, what are we going to do in January about it? As someone who is in this work and was planning on being in this work and not hanging up the towel today, I think that this is an opportunity for us to stay engaged and stay really organizing through 2022 when we have a chance again to do the shift of to do a shift in Congress, especially if we lose the Senate. Can someone explain to me why there isn't a universally accepted election reporting model? That is a very long response, unfortunately. But I do think that that has to be one of the priorities that we focus on moving forward, because I was reading last night, but from a bunch of different statisticians that were talking about how Democrats basically have to win by 5 percentage points in order to win the Electoral College. That is wild, considering that in politics, anything that's more than a 2 or 3 percentage win is considered a landslide. So it really is a matter of us looking into how we're going to change our electoral politics moving forward. The Electoral College is unbelievably outdated and also has extremely racist roots to it. So what are we going to do in January? How are we going to lobby the people that we are now electing to really make it so that we are a democratic country? There was a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. So I'm sorry, let me go through some of my notes. And by the way, keep leaving me your questions here because I do want to talk to you and answer all of your questions. So things that I think we're going to need to organize in 2022, but we need to start with now. We need to hold Democrats accountable to push and educate on progressive policies. I touched on that regarding the Affordable Care Act. I touched on that regarding the $15 minimum wage. We need to focus turnout strategies for Latinx communities. I think that this is something that we see over and over again, that often the Democratic Party doesn't show up for Latinos until pretty much the 11th hour. The Latino community is extremely varied. It's extremely complicated. And we need to start organizing them now. We need to start investing in these new swing states of Texas, of Georgia, of Arizona. We are seeing right now the fruits of the labor that has been going on in Georgia for a very, very long time, but has definitely been revved up in the last 6 years, 4 years, 2 years. And the fact that we haven't called Georgia for Donald Trump in 2020 is wild. For a Republican presidential incumbent is truly fascinating. Arizona is also going to be an amazing thing that we have to continue to invest in and continue to push for our get out the vote efforts, for our activism. We need to start organizing our state legislatures today. There are going to be state legislatures up in 2 years. We need to start organizing now. State legislatures dictate so much of the politics of individual states and will help determine how we do electoral politics moving forward. We also need to focus on learning about radical right groups and what the root of the problem is there. So we do have these unbelievably fringe radical right groups that we see this like solid core Trump vote. Now, not the entire core of the radical right. Not all Trump supporters are part of the radical right, but a lot of the radical right, if not all of them, are Trump supporters. So what are we going to do about this really scary militia groups that are taking over a lot of our rhetoric and a lot of our politics? We don't know what this week is going to end up being in terms of protests, in terms of violence from radical right groups. So we need to be mindful, and in the next 2 years and in the next 10 years, look into the soul of this country and how we're going to be able to fight back against these extremist groups and how to reform them, or what we're going to be able to do with that. We need to stop disinformation campaigns regarding socialism, as I said, and we need to start contesting every single district. And this is me editorializing, not talking for Daily Kos. By the way, I'm speaking for myself here on behalf of Daily Kos, but for myself, I think we need to stop giving money to Lincoln Project-esque grifters. I know that's controversial, but I think that this idea that the Republican Party and good Republicans are going to save us is outdated and isn't particularly working. What if all that money that the Lincoln Project had gotten this time around, we had given to Texas, we had given to Georgia in order to bolster get out the vote efforts there? Sarah says, I'm shocked at how many people still voted for Trump. It makes me sad for our divided country. You know, it is sad, but our country takes it took a long time for us to get here. It has been a problem for a very long time. And, you know, I'm someone who's very into mindfulness and thankfulness, and in a way that I've been able to kind of put myself together and thinking about the fact that so much of this country 2 times now has showed up for Donald Trump. I'm reminded that this country also showed up with much more excitement for Barack Obama twice. And this is very much still the same country with a lot of changing demographics that are progressive demographics. So it's a matter of really gauging how we do our electoral politics, making sure that our politics and that our election systems really represent what the average American is, because unfortunately they currently don't. Half the people in this nation are crazy and they voted for a sociopath. Sharon, I don't disagree. But you know, this is what we're with, and we have to continue to do the work. Yeah, I really am. I don't know. I think I'm one of the few people on the internet who is still inspired and excited about what has been going on. I never expected America to just fully turn into a beautiful democratic socialist utopia overnight. My bar is so not that high at that moment, and maybe that's just because I'm a little jaded and I work in electoral politics. But I really think that we are going to take the White House. We're probably going to find out by the end of the week, maybe tomorrow, maybe. I don't think tonight. So yeah, I was just jumping on here for about 15 minutes. I'm going a little bit over time. If any of you have any additional questions for me, go ahead and leave them in the comments, especially if you're on Facebook watching us. You can go to facebook.com/dailycoast. I'm going to go ahead and spend some time on there responding to some of your questions, going more in depth. If you would like me to come back probably at the 10 p.m. hour, if we get some updates from Georgia or if Arizona gets called across the board, I'm happy to do that. Let me know right now. And I will see you guys then. You can follow me on twitter.com, just /Cara Zelaya. It's my name, no spaces. My name's right there. And I'm happy to talk to you all then. Have a good one, guys. Stay positive.